There we go. I'm just waiting for it to come up on my, because there's a bit of a delay, so I'm just going to wait till it pops up on my iPad, and then we can make it start properly. There we go. So welcome everyone to Horizon Design. Welcome to my dining room, to your loft, wherever you happen to be. It's really good to see you again. It's been a long summer, but we're back and it's good. Have we all had a good summer? Yeah. Good. Those of you who have been to these before, particularly in September time, will remember that I quite often like to just give you a little snapshot of what my summer has been like. So if you would bear with me a second, I'm just going to share my screen. So I've had a there we go, that's the right one. There we are. So I've had a really good summer. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
You can see my screen, right? So I spent quite a lot of the summer singing, believe it or not. So I'm in a the word isn't choir. It's a group of people who love singing all over the north. I'm not actually on that picture. That was one that I wasn't at. But this is us at Ennerdale, the lake at Ennerdale, which is absolutely beautiful, and it's dead quiet because it's on the far kind of west of the lake, so they don't get any tourists. That was us all getting ready to launch into song. I'm not actually on that because I'm the one taking the picture. That was about 2 months ago. This was us at the Sill, near Housesteads on the Military Road. It was absolutely scorching, and we spent most of the day trying to avoid the sun, which is quite unusual for Northumberland. And that was us on the roof, either just before or just after we'd sung a few songs for the benefit of the passing tourists and the occasional sparrowhawk. And then this was on Lindisfarne about 2 weeks later. No, this was about 2 weeks ago. That was on Lindisfarne. It was not quite a sunny day there, but it was no less dramatic. And this was last week in Borrowdale, which is just the little valley south of Keswick. So we met at this hotel and did some singing in the grounds. Then we hiked. This is us hiking through the woods to a hermit's cave halfway up Castle Crag, and sang some songs and enjoyed the acoustics. So that's Dave who leads the choir. And we've got the last one is next Saturday at Ennerdale again. It was fab. If anyone's interested, we video them all and they're on a website, and there's like a map with all the different points on, and you can. So if anyone wants to know, I'll send you the link, and you can. I hesitate to use the word. No, enjoy it. I'm sure you would. The other thing, I was very fortunate enough to be invited to Julie and Dan's narrowboat down in Staffordshire. So this is where they were moored, which is a very easy place to get to by canal, but not very easy by any other means. But it was worth it because it was so secluded. And what you can't see is on the other side of that bridge, there's a railway line where they have a steam train, goes past every hour. And I was really hoping to capture a picture of the canal boat and the steam train, because that would look fab, but I never managed to get the timing right. And we went. This is one of the tunnels we ended up going through, the Haycastle Tunnel, which is one of the longest tunnels on the network, I believe. You can see from the colour of the water why you don't swim in canals. It's a lovely shade of diarrhea. You could probably walk across it actually. But this was the view inside the tunnel. It's over a mile long. It took us about three quarters of an hour to get through. See that tiny little dot there? That's the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's quite a sort of a meditative experience actually. Kind of just going through there, and there's kind of water dripping down and red ooze going down the walls. It's like being in a giant esophagus at times, but it was lovely. And then the other, I did manage to get to a foreign holiday. I know some of you who were with us in July might remember that I'd mentioned where I was going. Don't say anything though. I'm going to have a little, see who can guess. This was Newcastle Airport in August, mid-afternoon. It was absolutely deserted, but that meant the plane was deserted as well, which was great. So that was the end of my street. And there's not really any clues on there. There's a bit of a clue on this one. as to where I was. I know Claire knows where I was. That building site, probably the tallest building site in the world, might give you a clue. Any ideas?
Barcelona.
Barcelona it is. And there's another clue. That's one of the several drinks of Estrella that I enjoyed. But it was amazing. That was another of my favorite views. That was actually the view from the cafe outside my apartment. That was my apartment. Just, I'm pointing at it, you can't see, just kind of there. And that was one of many mojitos I drank there while watching the world go by. I did, of course, go to Sagrada Familia, but I didn't take any photos because there's no point. Apart from this one, because I was really impressed that there are all these amazing granite columns. And what they've done is, where there's loudspeakers, they've painted them to match. Because I don't know about you, when you go into an old building and there's like a white speaker stuck on the side of it, and it looks horrible. And I was really pleased to see they'd done that. And they'd also used these clamshells for the bit where you dip your hand in the holy water. And it didn't look out of place at all, because the whole place itself has got a very kind of organic feel to it. And I also went to the Casa Batlló, which is another one of Gaudi's masterpieces. It was just nuts, absolutely. I mean, that's just the outside. You can imagine what the inside is like. This was the roof. And on one of his other buildings, which is La Pedrera, they're the chimneys, and that building there, all that kind of structure in the middle is the water tank. But I think he couldn't allow anything to look anything like what it actually was. And when I was on there, there's this kind of arched section, and if you look through it, you can see Sagrada Familia. And I thought, oh, that's one for the collection. So the next time we have the next edition of people looking through things, this one might make an appearance. But I still had my DNN hat on when I was there. I didn't neglect you also. I did pay a visit to the Design Museum to get some inspiration. It was really good. That's a cabinet, like a kitchen cabinet, and all those little things are drawers and doors, and I was itching to open them, but you're not allowed to touch it. I just wanted to know how it looked when it all opened up. And that was just the view from my apartment. That was the day I left, or the morning that I left. A less pleasant view was this one in the airport. My first time as a non-EU citizen. So you had the EU gate and the United Kingdom passports gate, which was a little bit of a sobering experience, but there you go. And then the other thing I did was I went to Edinburgh to see the Unthanks. Do we have any Unthanks fans in the house?
Yeah.
It was this massive. It was part of the Edinburgh Festival, and it was this massive kind of tent gazebo thing, with everyone sort of distanced out. It was really good. And one of the nice things about it was that I sort of came across the Unthanks through watching, that series Detectorists on BBC with Mackenzie Crook, because he used a lot of their songs in the last series, and he also did they did some music for his version of Wurzel Gummidge. And so I was sat for the thing, and when I looked to the right, I was sat next to Mackenzie Crook, which was nice. So we had a little chat afterwards about how good the Unthanks were, and he's a really lovely fella. So that was quite a nice end to the experience. So that was my summer. I hope you didn't mind me giving you that little snapshot. And hopefully you've had just as good a summer to yourselves. So welcome to Rise and Design. For those of you who are here for the first time, can I just have a quick show of hands? Who's here at Rise and Design for the first time? Give us a little wave. A few of you. Well, a very special welcome to you. Hope you enjoy it. I'm sure you will. Hope this isn't the only time that you come. And actually, tomorrow is 12 years, exactly 12 years since our first Rise and Design, which is really, really scary. So what I've done is I've dug through, I just thought I'd show you a few little photos of what it was like 12 years ago. So I've dug through the archive. So I'm just going to very quickly share my screen again. You've seen all of them, you don't want to see them again. So Hopefully you can see that. That was Rise and Design #1, Customer Focused Design, September 2009. And this was the running order. So we had Roy Sandbach, who's still a good friend of the network, comes along occasionally, although he's not with P&G anymore. Tina, who's still at Tommy Tippy, Jim, who's no longer at Seaward, but we still sort of keep in touch. So that was the and nothing much has changed. You know, we had 4 speakers, we had lots of networking, as you can see, lots of networking, lots of people getting to know each other, having a good chat. And again, some of those people still around. Mike Dowson, who was the original head of Design Network North, and it was him that said at these Ryan Design events, "Oh, I don't really like speaking in public. You do it, Terry." So that's how you've ended up with me for the last 12 years. Now, Sean, is that the back of your head? It looks very much like you.
Yeah, it is.
I thought it was.
Do you want my hair was longer?
Yeah. I don't know what your skincare routine is, but you'll have to give us the secret because you haven't changed a bit, mate.
Cheers. Appreciate that. You need your eyes tested.
And there's Gordon Olivier, who was the CEO of RTC at the time. And I remember, and I always remind him of this when he says it, but when I see him, that he said at the time that, you know, these Rise Design things, I'll give it 6 months. Not because he was being cynical, but he'd sort of seen these things come and go. So every time I see him, and the last time was only a few months ago, remember when you said it would only last 6 months? And who's that fresh-faced chap at the back there? Look at him with hair and teeth. And there he is again with his gob open. Some things just never change. And I mean, one thing I noticed about these photos, I'm really glad Graham does our photography, because somebody actually took this as a photograph. Now, I recognise that's John Bignell because I know it's the back of his head, but I'm sure even he would agree it's not his best side. So obviously the photographs of the events that we've had more recently have been of a far better quality than that one. So yes, that was 12 years ago, and it's down to you guys that we're still doing this. You know, it's not because of me, it's because, you know, you all come along and support it and get involved and make it what it is. So a big thank you to all of you for on our almost 12th birthday. So today, actually, I'm just going to put myself on spotlight. So today we're talking or hearing about the business ecosystem, because there's lots of stuff out there to support businesses that we all need at different times. So we thought, well, why don't we try and focus on some of those? So I'm delighted to have been able to bring along some people who are going to talk to you about some of those things. So the first thing we're looking at is money, finance, investment. So we've got Chris from RTC, who, as well as being an innovation specialist on the Innovate UK program, is also an experienced investor himself. So he's going to give us a kind of a snapshot of what the different options are on the pitfalls. And then we've got Fiona and Henry, who've very kindly come along just to tell us some of their story of being on that journey. We all need knowledge as well. So we've got Nigel from the University of Sunderland talking about some of the things that they offer to allow people to access some of the knowledge within the academic world. And then Julie from Muckle, who has been on the kind of receiving end of that. And she's going to just tell us a little bit about how that's been for her and the difference it's made. And then we're going to focus on Proto and Northern Design Centre, which is where we would normally have been at these events. So Sean from XR Therapeutics and Colin from Mad Digital both make extensive use of the facilities, all the immersive tech facilities at Proto. So they're going to tell us a bit about that and some of the work they're doing and how it's helped them to, or enabled them to do what they do. So that's what we have for you this morning. So there's a lot to get through, but I'm sure we will get through it, and I'm sure you'll have a lot to take away. But before we do that, before I introduce our first speaker, it's your chance to do a bit of networking. So what I'm going to do is put you into some breakout rooms. So there'll be 3, 4, maybe 5 of you in a room. And sorry, I'm just going to click the wrong button. And so I'll just invite you just to say hello to one another, find out who you are, where you're from. Sorry, it's not letting me. I'm frantically clicking buttons here to make it do the right thing, and just see if there's. It seems to be wanting to put you all into one room. I'm not sure why that is. Oh, this is really annoying. Sorry, I do apologize. It doesn't usually do this. Here we go. Right. Right. So yes. So just 5 minutes or so to introduce yourselves, and then I'll bring you all back, and we'll start with the first of our speakers. Is that okay? Right. Off you. So now I'm delighted to welcome Chris, who is, as I say, a kind of a investment fundraising expert. He actually delivers on the Pitchfest program that we run a couple of times a year. Who is then going to introduce Fiona, someone that he's worked with extensively. Henry, I've just had an email from Henry. Henry, he should be joining us later. He's got something on at the minute, so he's going to join us a little bit later. So we'll kind of slot him in when he arrives. So Chris, can I hand over to you?
Yeah, sure. Right. Hi, everybody. Couple of things. First off, I'm not going to bore you to death with PowerPoint, so don't worry about that. I'm just going to bore you to death by talking to you. However, I am interested in answering questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box, and I will endeavour to answer them as we go along. You will see at the top of the chat box, I've put my LinkedIn profile there. Again, feel free to connect through LinkedIn if it's of interest to you. And then lastly, down at the bottom, depending on what variety of machine you're working on, you should see a button that says reactions. On the reactions, you should see a raise hand. Can everybody have a go at raising their hand? Because I do actually want to see some sort of participation. And I know it's, hooray, well, most people seem to have got that. That's fantastic. It's not the same as actually being in, you can put your hands down now. It's not quite the same as being in the room and people throwing things at me, but it's close enough. So I want to talk a little bit this morning about the different sorts of investment that is potentially available to you. So here's the first piece of interaction. Who here would like to learn how to raise another £500,000 for their business? Okay, so I've got a good, that's good. Right. Well, that's one of the things I want to talk about today. There is no guarantee in any of this. It is always hard work, but it can really be worth it. And I hopefully Fiona will give you some idea of the success that you can achieve by doing this. So how do you get £500,000 plus into your business? Well, one of the ways is by taking part in the Innovate UK Edge Pitchfest event, Pitchfest 21. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put into the chat the URL for the Pitchfest application. So Pitchfest is a Innovate UK Edge, UK government run pitch training event. It's run across the whole of the UK, but various different regions are treated separately. And I'm partially responsible for the north of England, not the northeast, the whole of the north of England. So basically everywhere from the Trent Mersey line up to the Scottish borders. And this competition, as Terry has said, is run roughly twice a year. We've got one coming up now. The closing date for applications is the 13th of September, which I know is only 3 days away. But honestly, you can still get your application in. It's not a difficult application. And if you do get your application in, you stand a chance of getting access to fully funded by the UK government training on pitching to a range of different types of investor. So I highly recommend it if you are looking for money into the business. And it's not just angel investment, it's not just VC investment, it can be a whole mix. It's a blended finance into the business. Now, the reason I said 500,000 is because the criteria for this particular competition is businesses that are looking to raise 500,000 or more to grow their businesses in the next 2 years. So it doesn't have to be 500,000 all at once. It can be a projection over the next 2 years where you think that your business would benefit from having an injection of money of 500,000 or more. So that's the first thing. And I highly recommend everybody that's interested in getting money into the business, at least take a look at it. And if you think it's suitable for you, please make an application. If you don't apply, you won't get it. You know, shy guys getting out. So if you want the money, get off your arse, have a look at the website and put the details in. So that's the Pitchfest sales pitch over and done with. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what Innovate UK Edge can offer to businesses anyway, because I think it would be valuable to you. So the program that we run is not free, but it is fully funded by the UK government, and it can offer innovation and growth support for innovative businesses in the north of England for up to 30 hours of funded innovation and growth support. The only real conditions are that you've got to be a company. You can't be a one-person organization. And you have to be able to demonstrate a level of innovation in your business, in your offering, in your idea. And quite honestly, if you're sat here in this particular networking event, the chances are you're innovative, because that's what design is. So again, if you are interested in the possibility of getting some fully funded support to help your business grow, let Terry know, let myself know, contact me on LinkedIn, and we can see where we can go with it. So again, hands in the air, anybody that would like another £500,000 plus in their business. Yeah, go on. Yeah, we'll go with that. So why should you listen to me? And who am I? Well, very good questions, but what I would say is that finance is not my first professional career, far from it. I'm actually an industrial designer. I did my degree in design and mechanical engineering, and fundamentally I'm a problem solver. But I fell into angel investing quite late in life and decided that I wanted to take it seriously. So I am what's known as a sophisticated investor. This is a legal term, but it allows me to invest in unregulated investment opportunities. Now, an unregulated opportunity is people like you. It is small businesses, it is the VC funds, and so on and so forth. I personally have got a portfolio of 13 companies that I'm invested in and have invested in over the years. And I act as not just an angel investor with them, but on occasions I'm acting as a non-executive director and a board advisor, bringing my expertise in problem solving, but also in IT and cybersecurity to the table. And those businesses range from media companies right the way through space technology companies, so a whole range. And I am, I suppose, a semi-typical angel investor. And that's why I'm here talking to you now, because I'm going to give you the investor perspective. On the investment journey, there are a number of different stages, and most businesses start with what's known as the 3 Fs. Now, please take notes. The three Fs are friends, fools, and family. And I've been all three at one point or another. But that's where most businesses start. They start by getting friends and family, and if you've got the occasional rich fool, to actually invest in their business. And I'd like to say that whilst that is normal, it's not necessarily the best way of going about it. Quite often, the better way of doing it is actually borrowing the money as a private commercial loan from friends and family. The next stage on from friends and family is the pit of death. And the pit of death is where the business still needs to raise money, but it's not big enough to raise money from angel investors. And this is where a lot of businesses die, because they get to the end of what they can do with friends and family, and they just don't have the legs to go to angel investment. There are ways, there are bridges over that pit of death, but they do require planning. And you need to sit down with somebody that's been there, seen it, done it, got the t-shirt, can show you the scars and not the bullshit, and actually work with them to plan how you move your business from the 3F stage, friends, fools, and families, into the angel investment stage. At the angel investment stage, you're talking about raising probably about $250,000, maybe slightly less, up to about $500,000, maybe slightly more. Now, that is the sweet spot for angel investors. Most people jump to that too quickly. There is an option in between that, as I say, for doing loans. I would far rather see a business borrow money, even if it's at a relatively high level, than willingly giving away their business for next to nothing. Because what you're doing when you're going out to angel investors, and I probably shouldn't be saying this because I am an angel investor and I want your businesses for as little as I can possibly get them for, but you really want to be retaining the value of your business for later so that you can raise more money and give less of your business away. The way to do that is to borrow money. So taking out a loan, and there are a number of different ways of getting loans. We've already spoken very briefly about the private commercial loan. They can be really good. I've done many of those. In fact, I'm just in the process of finalizing one now. So these private loans are where you borrow money from friends, fools, family, and so on at a commercial rate. There is a contract that is drawn up where you repay the loan over a given amount of time at a given level of interest. The nice thing about it is that quite often you can do this, particularly with friends and family, with no actual collateral to put against it because it's against your personal word. You can set the degree of interest that is accrued to the benefit of you and the person that's lending you the money. And depending on how you do it, you can set it up so that you only repay them the interest once a year or once every 3 years. And you only pay the capital back at the end of the loan period. So that's good for you because you don't have to worry about finding the money every month, unlike with a bank, who, by the way, are not your friends, no matter what they say. But it gives you are in control, you are in charge. You can also do this with companies that you happen to be in business with, partners, JVs. If that company is cash rich, it is possible for you to agree an intercompany commercial loan at commercial rates. Let's say, for example, 4, 5, 6%, simple interest as opposed to compound interest, which is exactly what the banks would charge you, compound interest. And it means that you have to get proper legal advice about this. Don't just go, oh, here's a piece of paper that I've just written up and will you sign it? You need to get this sort of checked over by your legal counsel. It's good if you get advice from your accountants as well. But what it does mean is that if that company, which is cash rich, is lending you the money, and quite often companies that you are in partnership are happy and prepared to do this, they don't pay corporation tax on that money when it comes to the end of their tax year, because they've lent it to you, and then they're earning interest on it. They will only pay tax on it when it comes back to them. So that's a possibility. It's something that I've done myself, but you do need to do it properly, legally, otherwise you'll have HMRC all over you. And you believe me, you do not want HMRC all over you. You can also look at things like asset financing. You can, which is a great option if you're in a business that requires capital assets. You can look at payday loan kind of things where, or invoice factoring. I'm not in favor of those as such, but they can be a good way of getting money in short term, but you really do pay for those. But so they're worth looking at, but they're not my recommendation. There are, of course, grants. Grants are free money. No, they're not. They're not, because you have to put a lot of effort, time, sweat, tears into the applications, apart from perhaps Pitchfest, and I highly recommend you have a look at that one. But grant money, if you can focus your attention on the grants that are specifically tailored to your business, they're definitely worth going for. If, however, you've got a grant there that is wide open to anybody, the chances are that you are unlikely to get the grant, because there will be thousands of other businesses all looking for the same small pot of money. So work out whether or not it's really worth your time, effort, and sweat to do that application, or are there easier ways of getting the money. Once you've exhausted that, then you can look at things like angel investment. As I say, angel investment, probably £150,000 up to maybe 750,000. The largest sums of money are unlikely to be done by a single investor, even if they are an individual of high net worth, which, by the way, again, is a legal term. They're more likely to be consortium, and the consortium are put together by angel groups. And there are a number of them around the north. The North Invest is a really good angel investment group that I'm involved with. They operate out of Leeds and Newcastle. And again, depending on where you are in your investment cycle, I'm more than happy to talk to you about how you can get in front of those to raise that sort of money. At that point, you've got to have a good pitch deck. And the same is true as you go through from the angel investment to the VCs, from the VCs to Series A, and so on and so forth. So VCs normally start around about the 1 million mark. So again, you've got another pit of death there between the angels and the VCs, and you need to make sure that you can bridge that by proper financial planning, by making sure that you've got a minimum of a 12-month runway, preferably 18-month runway, as you're moving from the angel investment phase into the VC investment phase, because it doesn't take 2 days. It doesn't take 2 weeks. It doesn't even take 2 months. It could take 8, 10, 12 months to raise the funds that you want, even at the VC stage, and certainly at the angel investment stage. So plan ahead, think about what you need to do. So I've got a couple of notes here. And again, please take notes, please take notes about what this is. But how do you quickly attract an investor like myself? The first one is be loud. Blow your own trumpet. If you don't blow your trumpet, nobody's going to blow it for you. If I don't know about you, I can't invest in you. So make some noise. Go for competitions. Don't spend your entire life winning the best small business and so on, but have some awards that you can shout about. Get in the business press, get in the local press. So make sure people know about you. If I don't know about you, I can't invest in you. Be distinct. You've got to stand out from the crowd. I will not invest in a Me Too business. And that's not the political Me Too movement. I'm on about businesses that have no differentiation apart from maybe being a bit cheaper, maybe being a bit more blue, maybe being a bit more green. You've got to be significantly different. Stand out from the crowd. Again, it's about visibility. If you've got to prove to me that you do one thing well, so focus on that. There is an argument here that I will come back to as we develop it, that I actually want to see you having multiple streams of income, but those multiple streams of income should all be focused about what you do well. Prove to me that you're the best in the field at what you do. The next one is really difficult for me. It's be concise. I've always thought, why use 2 words when 1,000 will do? But actually, be concise is important when you're talking about pitching for money. I don't want war and peace. Now, I'm going to be really rude about investors here. I'm not an expert in your business. You want to pitch your business so that it is easy enough for a relatively bright 6-year-old to understand. Oh, and use big crayons, okay, because we like pictures. If it's too complicated for a 6-year-old, it's too complicated for me. I'm not that bright. And well, obviously I am, but or at least I think I am. But most investors, quite honestly, if it's too complicated, you've lost us. And as soon as you've lost us, you've lost the investment. I'm not looking for reasons to say yes. Don't think I'm looking to say yes to you. I'm looking for reasons to say no. I see hundreds of investments each year, and I'm only going to be investing in the ones that I will say that haven't made me say no. And it's very easy to make me say no. So be concise. It's so important. And when you're doing your pitches, have 2 different pitch decks, at least 2 different pitch decks. They have to have the same content, but they need to be different depth of content. You need a 5-minute pitch, because that's the amount of time that you will normally get in front of an angel investor. And you need a 20-minute pitch for those really exceptional and fortunate occasions when you get to spend some quality time with somebody like me. And that has to be the one where you're giving me the real details. 5 minutes. You can't give me war and peace in 5 minutes. You've got to cherry pick those really important bullet points about why your business is brilliant, why you are world class, why your team is going to make me money. And yes, it's all about the money. I mean, obviously it's not all about the money, but it's all about the sodding money. So tell me how you are going to make me money from the money that I'm going to give you. Try and be geographically agnostic. And that's a difficult one for me to say, being so fond of the Northeast. But in the Northeast, we tend to be a little bit insular. Let's be entirely honest about this. It's Northeast first. We love the Northeast. Well, why not? It's a brilliant place. I love the Northeast. I live in Teesdale. Honestly, best place in the world to live. But as an investor, I actually don't give a shit. I want to be investing in a business that is global. I want to be investing in a business that is going to make me money wherever it is, across the world. I don't care if you love Sunderland. Somebody's got to. What I care is, are you going to make me money? So be geographically agnostic. Find the greatest number of people to sell to and then sell the shit out of it. Sorry, so sell it really well. Because that way you're going to make money, and that means you're going to make me money. And yes, it's all about the money. Be specific. You're not just asking for money. With a lot of these things, you're asking for talent, you're asking for expertise, you're asking for content. So be clear about what you're asking for and why you're asking for it. If you want 500,000, great. But is it actually 500,000, or is it really 550,000, or is it 600,000, or is it only 400,000? And why do you want the money? How are you going to spend it? Be specific. And I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to spend £1,976.30 on this. No, that's total bollocks. All that shows me is that you know how to use an Excel spreadsheet and you don't understand business. What I want to see is I'm going to be spending around about 20% on marketing. I'm going to be spending 30% on new product development. I'm going to be spending 15% on the ISO standards and the IP and so on and so forth. So break down these expenditures so you're clear about where the money's going. So be very specific about what you're asking for. And if you want an introduction to a company, try and find out who in that company you actually want the introduction to. And the individual you're talking to might know that person, or they might know somebody that does know that person. Most angel investors are delighted to help you. We want to help you. We want you to succeed. Even if we're not in a position to invest money in you, we still want you to succeed. We still want to help you. We still want to pass on our contacts if you have proven to us that you're worth spending time with. So be specific about what you want. Be ready to answer questions. And if you don't know the answer, it's okay to say, I don't know, but I will come back to you with an answer. Or that's a really interesting question. It's not my area of expertise, but it's Bob's area of expertise. Let me introduce you to Bob. Or that's really good question. It's very complicated. It'll take a while to answer. Why don't we arrange to have a coffee? And I'll go through it with you in detail then. Brilliant. That's a hook. Get me on the hook, wind me in, land me, gut me, put me in the bag, you know. So it's all about getting the money out of me, and you won't do that if you're shy of talking to me. So be ready to answer questions. Whatever you do, don't bullshit. I can spot bullshit a mile off. I know because I do. You know, I'm an industrial designer. Half my job is bullshit. It's proving to people that my ideas are good enough to make. You've got to bullshit at that. So don't bullshit me when I'm asking serious questions. If you don't know, say, I don't know, but I can find somebody that does. Or be honest and say, actually, do you know what? I've not thought about that. Can we possibly sit down together and go through it so I understand what you're asking? It's always about asking, trying to get those doors opened for you. And I know I'm running on a little bit, but it's going to be very short from here. Next one is be a big picture thinker. Yes, you've got to have a 3-month, a 6-month, a 12-month plan. But I also want to see your strategy that says, we're going to be here in 3 years' time. We're going to be here in 5 years' time. We're going to be here in 10 years' time. Oh, and by the way, you make your money in year 5 when we sell to a competitor, or we go to an IPO, or we get a Series B investment, or whatever it is. But show me that you're a big picture thinker. You've got to know your business. You've got to know the details, but I want to see that you're thinking ahead. And then finally, be ready to network. Goes back to the first thing, be loud. Talk to everybody. Tell everybody that you know what you do, because you never know who is going to invest in your business. If people don't know who you are and what you do, we can't invest. So go out, network, 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 talk to everybody, bore people stupid about it, because do you know what? That one person will go, actually, do you know what? That's a really good idea. Got a bit of money in the bank. I want to invest. And that's it. Now, having said all of that, what I'd like to do is hand over to Fiona, who's been through some of these stages, and she can give you her perspective of how some of these things have gone from a real entrepreneur's viewpoint.
Thank you, Chris. I'm just going to share my screen, if that's okay, because I am going to bore you with a couple of PowerPoints. So bear with me 1 minute. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine, Fiona.
lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a tiny bit, really, and thanks for that, Chris, because Chris has been really, really helpful, and I met him on the Pitchfest cycle, and I'm grabbing his time after this today because we're at a real vulnerable point at the moment of what we're going to do with the investment cycle that I'm currently on. So just a little bit of background. We're an electric heating company, and predominantly when we started, we resold German products in the UK. We had really no point of differentiation at all. We were like every other heating company, and really, who wants to invest in that? Nobody. But like every entrepreneur business and like all your businesses, when we started, me and my husband, we had a dream. And ultimately, the dream was to make our own pattern product and obviously to be millionaires. But what tends to happen is we get dragged down in the weeds, we get dragged down in the day-to-day of a business, and we don't drive that business, and we end up with no money, you have cash flow problems, etc., etc. So to change our future, we had to get an idea, and we had to get an idea worth to invest in, and we had to find an investor. And luckily, we started in 2014. I'm going to show you some figures I'll share with you our growth as well. We presented to an angel investor, and they gave us 250k, which allowed us to do the following things. So in 2016, we secured the investment, and we rented a factory space. We designed a patterned radiator. We then changed our identity from a northern company to a UK company, which is Suspect Heating. Up on staff, so we moved very quickly from 3 to 3, then to 13. We kitted out the factory, but most importantly, we started to pay ourselves, but that didn't happen every month because we're on this growth curve. And 250k, what everybody thinks, doesn't go a long way. And this is sharing my traction with you. This is where we started. This is a slide that I put into Pitchfest quite recently. So for 2 years, we were stuck. And all this business that I've put on here is new business. We've no recurring income at all in this business. Every month we start on zero and we have to build that figure every single month. So it's quite a climb. And that's where we've gone from round a dining table on 65k. We got the investment May 2017, and then we just took off. But we have made mistakes in the way on this journey. And you know what? We've learned from them. They have been difficult and they have taken money. And we thought we'd be all right with just 250k. But we're not. We need to grow now. We've got really ambitious plans over the next 5 years to get to £9 million turnover, and that is a big ask. And we've got a different story to tell now, because one of the things that we have got is we've got intellectual property. We've got our pattern that's been completely approved now. That's coming, our UK and Europe pattern. We've got IPR on all our software thermostats. We've got trademarks, and I got that full IPO report from RTC because I worked with RTC and they had some grants open. It's quite expensive to get a report, and I had Clarion solicitors come in. They did the report, and I only had £500 towards it, which was a brilliant way to get that. And I also the cave product that I'm showing there, and Chris has just mentioned it. We secured during COVID a 70k grant to develop that product. I've just put in a new smart grant for 500k for a new smart. Some new technology that I can't tell you about at the moment, but collaborating with the university, which if any of you don't collaborate with universities, I would honestly say it's the way to go. And we then went into Pitchfest, and this is one of my slides from Pitchfest. So we know that an average value order is £3,500. We know that there's 4 million domestic homes that are not on gas. So that market is worth 1.12 billion. And even with just 1% market share, you know, we could be worth 11.2 million. And that is just looking at B2C. But looking at multiple streams, which we spoke to, this is another slide that I put into Pitchfest, which was helped, you know, on my journey through Pitchfest recently. And we actually attack the domestic properties at the moment, and we know how to do it. We're good at it. We've got a rhythm now to get what we need to do every month. But we also have had some wins from housing associations, from a leading university. We've got some of our products in there. And then we wanted to look at later a new thermostat, which gives us a recurring income model, which is really desirable for an investor to have that recurring income model. And a new ionizer that we're putting out into the market. So that was what I wanted the money for. But to do that and to build this particular business, what I had to do is obviously get money, because I needed new people, I need to promote my products, and I need to market them. I went to Pitchfest. I went through that journey. It is the most amazing journey you can go through. I've been on it twice. Last year, I got some great advice, but this year was completely different because we were different as a business. I asked for 500k for an equity stake in the business, but I also stipulated that I just didn't want the money. I needed this time, not just 250k. I actually needed somebody who really understood my market, who could actually open those doors and get me on that path of more than doubling my business next year. So it's quite important to really understand what you need. We got 4 offers. So we've got a current investor who wants to follow the money. They don't really get involved, so that's quite a nice scenario. We've got a new angel investor group, where there's a group of people that want to obviously collaborate and be part of the group and watch us grow. And we've had 2 venture capitalists. And those investments started at £100,000 to 1.740 million pounds. So we've got 1.7 million on the table at the moment, which actually is a significant amount. And there's a lot of things that we really need to think about before we go in that area. But that particular venture capitalist is somebody who is in our space. They're in the renewable space. They understand it. They put a governance in above you. That really helps you, and it also allows us to take over our space very quickly compared to anybody else and any of our competitors. But these are the considerations for all of you, because you know you can make mistakes with investment, which is what Chris says, you know. And I think, did we make the right choice in 2016? Are we going to make the right choice now? You are flattered that somebody wants to put 1.7 million pounds in your business. You're flattered when somebody wants to put 250k in, but it's really thinking about what do you really want, you know, and it's about, they want a big piece of your business, and what you've got to think about is you are the people that are going to be doing the hard work. You're the people that are going to be doing it ultimately, and an angel and a VC are very different people. And what an angel wants and what a VC wants, and how they will run your business in hand with you is very different. But we've got great traction. We know how to do it. We're quite desirable. You know, we've got offers still coming in now, people knocking at our door. But you need to think about, is it just money? Because we thought, oh, we're great, we know what we're doing, it's just money. But actually now what we need is introductions into those bigger places. We need the black book. That is what we need. We also need synergy with other people in the portfolio. So Chris spoke about a portfolio, you know, where we're looking at, they've got a portfolio of people like us, so we could have a real quick win into these places, which would grow our company quite quickly. More importantly, it's about protecting yourself. It's great to think, oh, I want to push another 500k into my business. But, you know, we really didn't understand the first round. We're a little bit excited now at the second round. I'm speaking to the lawyers this afternoon because I think the agreement is rich for the VC, but it's not very rich for us as shareholders. And, you know, it's great to think what you're going to do with the money, but in 5 years' time, they might want to just sell your business, and you need to make sure you've put the sweat, tears and everything into that business, that you are going to walk away with a significant amount. It's really understanding, which I really didn't have a clue about, how much money do you want and what do you really want, and what is the ultimate dream, right back to the beginning. What do you want to walk away with? Is it retiring in 5 years and this is what you're happy with? And will that investment do that for you? So that's the end of me. So I will just unshare my screen, if that's okay. Everybody, if I can know how to do that. Stop share. So I hope that helps.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Fiona, and thanks, Chris. Now, I would love to open up for questions, but would it be okay if we wait till all the speakers have been and we see where we are with time, and then we invite people to ask questions? Is that okay for everyone? Yeah. But Fiona, thank you so much for that, and thanks, Chris. Henry, who's the third person on the list, he'll be joining us a bit later. So as soon as he arrives, we'll invite him in. So, and yes, hopefully we'll have a bit of time towards the end for some questions for Fiona and Chris. So thanks for that. I'm now going to introduce, sorry, I've turned my video off there, didn't mean to do that. I'm now going to introduce Nigel from Sunderland University, who's going to tell us a bit about some of the things that are available there to support businesses. And then Nigel is going to introduce Julie from Muckle, who's been on that one of their programs, to share her story. So Nigel, can I hand over to you?
Certainly, thank you very much. I'll just get this on. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about today mainly is, can everyone see that okay, by the way?
We can, if you put it on.
Oh, yeah.
Is it presenter or slideshow mode or whatever it is? We'll be able to see it a bit better, I think. It's the at the bottom right.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
Thank you. Right. So what I'm going to do is focus on knowledge transfer partnerships, because that's what we did with Julie at Muckle, and it's a really great opportunity. What I would like to stress at the outset, though, is this isn't the only way for you to engage with the University of Sunderland, or indeed any other university. And I was really pleased when Fiona said, work with universities, because I think all of the Northeast universities, and of course, particularly University of Sunderland, can offer a lot to businesses, because there's some real mutual benefits. Universities get research out of it, and some, keeps the currency of learning there. And then obviously businesses benefit from knowledge. So there's a lot of opportunities. Talk to your universities, and we can try and tailor solutions. And when we have a range of solutions at the university that we can look at. But I'll focus in on knowledge transfer partnerships for today. So what are knowledge transfer partnerships? Well, they're funded by Innovate UK. They've been going for over 40 years in one guise or another. And essentially, they're a three-way partnership between an academic institution, the associate who works in the business on a particular innovation challenge, and of course, the company. So a company might face a challenge. There's no off-the-shelf solution that really fits their need, that where they want to make a sea change in what they're doing, or move into a new market, or develop a new product or process or system, etc. So there isn't something off the shelf that can come to a university like the University of Sunderland. We might have some academics with expertise in that area, but similarly at that point, we might not fully know what the solution is. And that's important. It's at the outset, you might know what journey you need to go on, but it shouldn't be something where we've got something in a drawer that's just going to solve your problem straight away. That's not a KTP. It's it's a project where you would say, right, in 2 years or 12 months or something like that, we can get to this point, and this is the product or service that you need. So it's a big challenge that you need to undertake with a KTP. KTPs normally have two academics, sometimes within the same sort of area, but sometimes with complementary skills, so that you get like a more rounded solution. And then, of course, crucial to the success of a KTP is the associate who works on the problem. So what you have is the associate who is a graduate, usually at master's level, would go into a business and they work on the problem, but are reporting to the academic who keeps them on track. And they also have an in-work supervisor who's kind of making sure that they're, involved with the culture of the organisation, is helping inform the project from the company position. So it's a genuine partnership between all parties. They have regular update meetings to check on progress. It's really tightly monitored and managed on a Ktp. The benefits of it, well, we talked about money, and that's ultimately what we're really focused on with a Ktp. Yes, we want, as an institution, we want to get some research out of it. We want to be able to evidence our impact and all those sort of things. But for a business, why would you invest in a Ktp? Well, statistics from Innovate UK show that over the last 5 years, there's an average of 600k per annum increase in pre-tax profits for the 3 years following a successful Ktp, 650k per annum increase in exports, extra growth of staff, new staff trained, new departments created, all those sort of things, which Julie will probably touch on in her presentation, I would imagine. And around 64% of Ktp associates are offered permanent job following the Ktp. So quite often, they're a great opportunity for associates to showcase the added value that they can bring to an organisation as well. So they do have teeth. And in fact, when you're developing a proposition for a Ktp, there's a real focus on what the return on investment is going to be. So what makes a successful Ktp? Impact is absolutely crucial to a successful Ktp. You have to have a credible business case. The person in the Northeast that we deal with is a chap called John Clayton, who's really knowledgeable, really good. And he's a bit of a gatekeeper for KTPs in a good way, in that he will make sure that the application is really sound and that you've really thought through all of the aspects, because there's no point going through a really exhaustive process to secure this money if it's a flawed concept. So John's really good, and we work closely with John to make sure that any propositions are really worthy of applications, and we're very successful. Once a proposition goes forward in Innovate UK, we're incredibly successful at securing them and securing the funding for a business. So again, we talk about return on investment. What's the competitive advantage that the KTP will give you, and what new markets and opportunities will it afford? I will send these slides to Terry, so I'm not going to read every single thing off them. You can look at that at your leisure and talk to us, but again, I would reiterate, it has to be truly innovative and create a challenge for the business. And the other thing would be transformational. Now, that can be for the sector. So it could be applying something that maybe is already really embedded in one industry, but is completely alien to a new industry. And it can be how you can apply some of that knowledge and learning from one industry or one sector to another sector. That is fertile ground for KTP as well. And Julie will talk about the legal sector in her presentation, and how Muckle are really now at the forefront of how those organisations operate. Who's eligible? Wide range, not public sector, I have to say, but SMEs, large businesses. The funding does change slightly between SMEs and larger organisations. Organisations with over 250 employees get 50% funding from Innovate UK. Organisations with less than that would qualify as SMEs, and they get 2/3 funding from Innovate UK. Some important factors: they do need to have the critical mass to be able to absorb the learning and be able to support the associate in the business. So, really small organizations, one-man bands, things like that, wouldn't be suitable for a KTP, because they wouldn't be able to absorb the learning, give them relevant support, all those sort of things. And we need to be established, and they need to be on a financially sound footing. And I think that's a responsible thing to look at anyway, both from a business perspective and as a university, and for Innovate UK as an investor in many ways. that's the, as I say, that's the funding there. So you've got SME 67% funded from Innovate UK. Good point to make is that you can look at R&D tax credits for a KTP as well. There are companies who can help with that. We don't do that specifically for you, but it's something to definitely look at because it can mitigate the cost of a KTP further as well. And it actually is a really good value for money when you look at what the cost of potentially recruiting a graduate, and obviously it's for time limited and project limited as well. So that's just an idea. You know, this isn't cast in stone because every project is different, but it sort of gives you a rule of thumb for a 2-year KTP. That's the sort of level of investment that you'd be looking at. So, you know, you'd be looking at a, you know, 85 grand project and a company contribution of 28 grand if you're an SME, and more obviously if it's a larger company. So that, sorry, it should say 50-50 for the larger company there. That's my mistake. But yeah, so you know, it's a significant investment, but it's, you know, it's still value for money, we believe, because not only is it cheaper than some other solutions right there and then, but they're a proven way of getting a really good return on investment. So what's the process? So what we tend to do is we'll talk to a business about some challenge that they might have, and then we start thinking about some of those key things that you just need, hurdles that you need to get across. Would need to look at the audited accounts, make sure that they're financially sound and that we're, you know, that it wouldn't fail that test. We would start looking at academics to see if we've got the necessary skills in the university. And what if we didn't have the skills in the university, by the way, we would refer on to other organisations. The universities within the Northeast are very collaborative. We meet and talk about KTPs on a regular basis. We're not cutting each other's throats or anything like that. So if it's an area that we can't help with, but we know our colleagues at Northumbria will help with, we do pass on, and vice versa as well. And then we would kind of develop the proposition, and there's like a fact-find form where it's kind of an outline business proposition, which we would complete, and then we would talk to John Clayton as the Innovate UK advisor, and he would sort of help us clarify our thinking, really tighten it up, and then we'd go for the full proposal. And that's a bit of a joint effort between the academic, who's going through the academic learning and some of the key technical points, but also the business partner in terms of what their challenge is, what their aims are, the return that they're looking for, what markets they want to go into. And the forms are really good at guiding those discussions and helping clarify. And it actually is a really good process to go through for a business, because it really helps them to focus in on what they're trying to achieve. We then submit the 6 submission dates a year, and then we usually have to wait about 12 weeks for an application to be considered. At that point, would hopefully be successful. We'll get the money, and then we go out and advertise and get the associate. The business is involved in the recruitment of the associate. That is so crucial to get the right associate. You know, it really does make or break a KTP. You know, academics, we've got great academics, and businesses can be fantastic, but you do need the right associate. That's so crucial. And we've been very fortunate in that we've been very successful in getting some great associates who, you know, I think the other important point is when you get a really good business partner, they help bring the associates on. So they'll get they might have the raw skills needed for the project. And then the business brings so much to the associate, and we've seen that with Julie as well over in Muckle. So we have regular progress meetings. There's a really detailed implementation plan, and then it's brought to fruition. I'm going to stop there though, because I'm conscious that I'm taking up a lot of time, and I think it would be much better to hear from someone who's actually been through the process. As I say, I will share these slides anyway, and what I want to do now is pass over to Julie. So I'll just try and suss out how I can unshare my screen here. And then,
sorry, I've probably made it more complicated, Nigel. Give me
no, it's all right. It's all right. I've got it here.
Oh,
right.
Hide that one. That's also it needs to go the first.
Sorry.
Oh, you've spoiled the ending now.
At the front.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Right. Hi, everybody. I'm Julie Palm from Muckle. I'm Director of Business Improvement at Muckle. Muckle are a commercial law firm, and I normally used to say we're based in Newcastle, but I think at the moment we have over 160 satellite offices spread all over the northeast of the country, really. But we cover all aspects of commercial law. How we came to do a KTP with Sunderland University was, I think it was about 3 years ago now. I was tasked with looking at a particular area of legal work which we were doing called debt recovery, which for people who know the process of debt recovery, it's quite a process-driven piece of legal work. There's very small margins made within debt recovery, but the type of work has got scalability to go really large and make a good recovery rate and good fee income. So what I started doing is looking at our debt recovery team, see how they were working out how we could lean the team and totally change the way they were working. The first idea I came up with was an app, so we could provide online legal services of debt recovery to clients direct. So you literally download a Muckle app. And that was the first thought of the journey. And I designed an app and sort of worked out how I thought it could work. Then I met with various different people. Firstly, I went to a software house and they gave me a quote which was just far way above the budget that I had to spend on developing such a bit of tech. So then I came across KTP at Sunderland, and I met with the Sunderland team, sat down and went through what my idea was. So what our KTP was around is now it's an online debt recovery system, and we've even got it branded differently called Muckle Collect. It's a data-driven piece of technology, which I believe in the marketplace is different to other debt recovery systems out there. So we've ended up, and also I think Nigel said, at the start of the journey, you don't have to have the complete idea. You just have to have a vision of where you would like to get to with your idea. And then really the idea just builds up as you go through the KTP process. So it starts off, I'm not going to repeat everything Nigel said, but it starts off with the application process, which I must say does take time and effort. And I think one of the key areas was the 5-year projected income exercise. And even for me doing that, I thought the scalability of this product was quite vast. But then when I did actually start scaling it and doing a few spreadsheets and different things, there was really a great opportunity for to develop something really good, which had prospects of being very successful and making considerable fee income. So we looked at that, and then we got accepted on the KTP. The academics which I needed to help us develop our project were computer science people and data science academics. Now, for a law firm, we're classed as, well, we've got 160 people, medium size to small, big. I'm not quite sure where we sit now. We do have an IT team, but they mainly work on the architecture side, networking, security. And we don't have the scope within our IT team to absolutely develop something right from the scratch to where we need to get to with actually releasing the product. So sat down with these two academics and we sort of then sketched out how we thought this project would go. The associate, as Nigel said, is really important. The associate is the graduate who works within your organisation for the total length of time of the KTP. So we have got the most amazing associate. I'm just going to tell you he's called Alan, and I'm not going to release his surname because he is so good. Alan started working at Muckles in July 2018. As Nigel said, his qualifications, he's got a computer science degree from Durham, and then he was doing his data science at Sunderland master's level. So Alan became our associate, who, as I say, is really good. Sorry, it's the next slide now. Sorry about the PowerPoint. our Ktp Journey. We started with all of the design, and Alan joined Muckles on July 2018. Started thinking how we're going to actually pull this project together. We had the tech to look at, we had data to look at, we had the design of how we were going to sell the system, what technology we needed to scale it. Lots of different things have happened. So there's been a variety of things. So the original plan for our Ktp was 2 years. It ended slightly longer than 2 years. It should have been July 2020, but we had, as everybody did, a pandemic hit, and we stopped our project for 5 months, really just to concentrate on what we're doing with the in the business and how we're keeping that going. We restarted our Ktp again in the September, and then we ended our Ktp journey in November. And then I was absolutely delighted to say that Alan has actually joined Muckle now. So he is now part of our team. So for a law firm to have a data scientist within our team is really forward thinking. And now we don't just have a data scientist in our team, we've also got a data and digital team separate to our IT team. Our aim is to do things totally differently in the business, but to be guided by data. So we're pulling lots of data now around different areas for the business. So the Ktp just hasn't created a product for us, an app for us. It's also changed the way we're working within our business. Back to the Ktp, Nigel said that you have a quarterly catch-up meeting, and everybody who's involved in the Ktp comes around the table, and we'll all talk about the project and where we're going with it, how we're progressing, and just making sure we've basically got it on track. But from our point of view at Muckle as well, Jason Wainwright, who's our managing partner, he would join those meetings as well. So it was a case of Sunderland Uni, John from Ktp, and ourselves would all meet together and just make sure everything was going on track. It was they were really useful, really helpful. The commitment from academics. So Alan joined us in the July, as I said, he was with us for 2 years. When you've got an associate working with you on a Ktp, as part of the Ktp, they're also trained. So Alan attended a training session in Toronto. That was a data camp, seemed to be the closest one he could find. That's what he told us anyway. Then he went on another data camp in Amsterdam. He completed Prince 2, which he now helps us within our team project manage what we're doing. And there was 2 weeks of management training, and I can't remember exactly where he went, but I know it was something to do with the Tata management, where they train their managers. So all the time the associate is developing stuff, but also bringing different knowledge into the business. And just before I go on to the Muckle app, one of the things I was going to talk about was that Alan attended a course in Toronto for around data science. And also Toronto is one of the birthplaces of a bit of technology called RPA, which is robotic process and automation. It was quite strange. Alan was in Canada and then he returned to Muckle, and I just happened to read an article about that type of tech and thought, that is really clever stuff. And then Alan came back from the course and I was talking to him saying, have you heard about it? And he said, yeah, actually we've done something on our course with it. And I think within 3 days, he had a robotic processing automation robot created, which we named after our debt recovery manager called Bev. So it's our Bev robot. And we're using that to do some back-end work in debt recovery for creating letters before action. So that was an immediate impact on what we were doing around Ktp. So what have we actually done developing in Ktp? So we started off with an app. It's slightly different to the app that I thought of when we actually started our Ktp journey. We've now got a Muckle app. It's both on Android and it's on the Apple Store, which in itself was quite a big job to do. But we're using our app to do ID for clients. So we're not live with this currently yet at Muckle, but we're going to start training our people next week to use it. So when you become a client of Muckle, you will get for anti-money laundering processes procedures. We need to make sure we ID everybody. So what we're going to do now is send you a link to our app, and then there's biometric testing on the app, so we can ID people. It's a much smarter way of doing it. It's been quite complicated over COVID when we haven't been meeting people. And then after that, we've got our big tech. So sorry, Nigel, it's the next slide. So this is Muckle Collect. I liked what Chris Jones said. I'm going to bore everybody silly with Muckle Collect now wherever I go. I think this is a fantastic bit of tech. It's been developed by computer scientists and data scientists, and we're doing debt recovery in a totally different way to what we've ever done debt recovery before. We've got 30 years experience of debt recovery. We've done debt recovery for a variety of different organizations, from leading banks to utility companies. We've really streamlined what we're doing. We've still got to work within the civil procedure rules, so we still have to work within their timescales. But apart from that, we'll literally have teched everything up. We're using robotic processing automation we've got a client portal. We use robotic processing automation to a legal case management system that drives through the legal requirements that we need to do. We've still got people behind our technology because our clients have said one of the differentiators of Muckles is the people side. So we still have people there. One of the areas that is totally new to our debt recovery is our data. We have 4 streams of data coming out of our debt recovery system now. So on a weekly basis, I sit down with the team, we'll look at the data, which clients have we won, what sectors are they in, we take all of the data we can find about the clients, and then we have data around the cash, how much cash is out there that we're collecting for our clients, how much have we collected this week. That influences our touch points, what we need to do to make sure that we collect the debts. We'll have a 3rd stream of data around the debtor. And apart from doing business improvement, my background was originally finance. I used to be the head of finance at Muckles for many years, then went into projects, but I've always been a bit of a tech person, and half of my degree was in tech, so definitely going down that road now. But I also do data protection, and I've done postgrad education on data protection, so that's been really useful for knowing what we can do with data within our Muckle Collect product. So what we're doing here with debtor data is, at the end of a matter, we're retaining as much of the data as we can without breaching any data protection rules. So we anonymize people and things. So we're creating a predictability model there around how we collect debts. And then the 4th stream, which we have just recently brought in, is we're doing streaming around client feedback. And at the moment, we're using Net Promoter Score to do that. And then results, we're absolutely obsessed with the results on debt recovery at Muckle. I think we're sitting at about 86% at the moment for the debts we collect for people, which I think is, we've been at 92% before, but we're challenging ourselves every day to get even better at that. So this is the main product that has came out of our Ktp, and it's a product that's came out. We've got a new team, and we're thinking totally different within our business as well. I think they're classing us as a forward-thinking law firm, which is absolutely brilliant. So, and then the last slide, Nigel, awards. This came up at the beginning, but already we've got that's a legal practice management award. So that's a national award for us that we received last year, and that was for our use of robotic processing automation. In all honesty, I don't think lawyers had heard or even knew anything about it until we done a bit of a demonstration to put in an award for our service delivery and innovation. We won that award last year, and I'm absolutely delighted to say that we're shortlisted for the North East Business Awards for innovation and technology. So we've got a bit of a grilling of the SAGE board people around what our tech is, what we're doing and what we're doing differently. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed. The award ceremony, we'll find out. There's 3 finalists for this award, so we'll find out in September if we win that or not. So I'm sorry? Oh, sorry. Right. Sorry. So yeah, we'll find out in September about that. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. But even if we don't win the profile, it is a fantastic achievement for us to get to this stage, I feel, so early on in our project. I think that's it, Nigel.
Great stuff. I'm conscious we ran over time mainly due to me prattling on, but just any questions anybody's got about any of that?
Could we, as I said earlier, at the beginning, can we see where we are at the end of our speakers, and then if we've got a bit of time, we'll let everyone.
Oh yes, of course.
Ask questions. Is that okay? But
yeah,
Julie, Nigel, can we all just show our appreciation in the now time-honoured manner?
Thank you.
Jazz hands, because applause is a bit weird. But Julie, Nigel, thanks for that. That was fantastic, and just for kind of bringing it all to life. It's not just about getting a graduate to do some stuff. It's about, well, I would imagine, transforming the business in ways you probably did.
Definitely part of it. Definitely part of it. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
So thanks for that. Thanks.
Thank you.
From Northern Design Centre and Proto, as many of you know, is the place that we would normally be based if there hadn't been a global pandemic, and hopefully we'll be there again before too long. But it is, as well as the place that we hang out, it is the immersive hub for not just for the Northeast. It's one of the a UK or world class even facility in terms of what they have there. So Sean is first of all going to tell us about some of the work they're doing there, and then I'll hand over to Colin. So
okay,
Sean,
so I have to share my screen?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Does that come up for everyone?
Yeah, we can see that fine. Thanks. Yep.
Cool. Right. For some reason it's not playing it. Okay, I'll just leave it like that for the time being till I figure that out. Yeah, so hi, I'm Sean Allen, CTO of XR Therapeutics, amongst a few other things, but this is my my main day job these days. What I'll do is I'll explain a little bit about our relationship with business support in and around Gateshead, literally over about 12-13 years now. So starting right at the beginning, apologies to some of the regulars who will have definitely heard some of this stuff before, and then I'll get on to the juicy and new bits. But I'll go through a bit of the history because it is pretty important. What everyone's done for us in Gateshead. Okay, so starting at the beginning, 2008, fundamentally Gateshead Council listened to, at the time, I would imagine pretty much my mad vision for immersive coming along. So when I say immersive, I'm meaning, VR, virtual reality, augmented reality, all that sort of stuff. And there was one or two other folk in and around then as well with a similar view. So that was, like I said, Colin from MAD, who will be talking soon, Frankie Kavanagh, the guys from Spearhead, the guys from Hammerhead VR. So there was a few of us, but I took it upon myself to absolutely pester the team at Gateshead Council as to how important this space was going to be. And not only did they listen, but they acted very directly. And pretty much got the vision that I was outlining. So from about 2008, they offered support in there with building space, kind of cheap rent, that sort of thing to get everyone underway. I was just discussing this point the other day with Colin from Mad Digital. I don't know if it was by design or by accident, but they certainly didn't, how could you put it? They didn't just throw a load of money at us as companies and wrap us up in cotton wool and, kind of give us this, this false economy where we were just kind of burning through money. We've always had to stand on our own 2 feet, get clients, make things happen, and obviously get everyone excited about the immersive space. So we never got big direct grants. It was before, even well before, the likes of Innovate UK had even thought about immersive. So yeah, it was real support and practical support with offices, space, and all that type of thing. So very quickly as I can possibly do it. 2008 was the formation of my company, Vector 76. At the time, we were one of only 4 in the entire UK 100% VR firms. Even though I have a background in web development and games and all that stuff, our mission was always to stay as a 100% virtual reality company at that time. And that is pretty much what we've stuck to right over the years. Around about 2010, again, Gateshead Council basically backed the idea of Vertigo Labs, which was a physical lab where we had like a little incubator space in a building called Baltimore House, which is the first one before you get to Proto and the Northern Design Centre. So there was about, I think, 6, 7 maybe companies in there, all of which kind of effectively got larger or turned into other organizations. The likes of Hammerhead VR are pretty much now known as Dimension Studio. Dimension Studio have a mixed reality capture space down in North London. They're doing a lot of stuff with the movies and all that type of thing, big stuff. Likewise, Frankie Kavanagh, who had Pocket Money Games, went on to do some collaborative work with Oculus Facebook, worked on the Superhot brand and various other big things. So we all kind of grew out of that. And as we were growing out of it, Chris Pape from Gateshead Council, again, was keeping an eye on what we were doing and where we were all going and what we needed, invited ourselves, me, Colin, and a few others, to a lunchtime meeting, typical geeky stuff, pizzas. There was no beer, it was too early in the day. But that type of stuff. And literally on the back of a pizza box, which I believe Chris has still got, we designed what we needed. As he put it, tell us what you need to further the immersive industry in the northeast of England. So we effectively designed Proto on the back of this pizza box with the various things we needed, like a motion capture studio, a photogrammetry rig, a little mini recording studio, because audio is very important within VR and XR. And yeah, so we designed that. Within a couple of years, it was built. Prince William came up and opened it. Again, this was all very, very, very rapid, which was the good thing. There was no endless, I'm sure there was endless meetings for Chris Pape, but there was no like endless meetings of like, things going nowhere. It was like, right, okay, yeah, we'll do this. You need this. How much is it going to cost? We give them prices. And everything happened very, very quickly, and it was built. Moving on swiftly, basically what I'm doing here is pointing out different areas where the council have supported me and my endeavours very directly. I spent a couple of years with Hedgehog Lab, who predominantly based in Newcastle and Hyderabad. We opened XR Studio in Proto, so my team was based there for a length of time. We then, in 2019, I was asked by a friend of mine who was working on a immersive arts piece down in Saatchi Gallery in London. He basically said, would you be interested in bringing this generally up north? I said, yes, I know exactly the place we can bring this to. So we brought the British Airways Fly immersive experience to Proto. So it was the first time we'd had a full-on arts installation in what we call the R&D space. As of this year, Gateshead Council and Proto, more directly Proto, are helping us with a company called Holocorps. Holocorps what's called a location-based entertainment business. So if you can imagine something like Laser Quest on steroids, where we put you in a room and we can basically teleport you to any scenario whatsoever, where you can kind of run around shooting each other or whatever it is that you fancy doing. So it's very much an entertainment vehicle that will be opening the first facility of hopefully later this year, probably in Gateshead. and then we'll be effective as a business rubber stamping that throughout the UK and maybe further afield. But more importantly, as I say, my day job these days is primarily with XR Therapeutics, based at the Northern Design Centre, which is where a lot of the Rising Design events first started. So yeah, based in there, in effect born out of Proto. This, for those who's never seen it, this is Proto R&D space that we helped design. So I'll move on to a little bit of the embryonic history of XR Therapeutics as fast as I can. So we were, I was invited along with a couple of other people from the Northeast to get involved in an event called Stage World over in Shanghai in 2019. It was Chris maybe like this, an SBRI funded event or funded week, where effectively my remit there was to go across and of all things advise Chinese theatre land how they could use immersive technology to train their potential new actors. I had to write this this word on this slide just because it sounded funny and almost like the start of a joke. So yeah, there was 3 Geordies walked into a pub in Shanghai. I was one of them. Dr. David Dunn from Software City over in Sunderland, he was the other guy. And the other one was Alex Cook, the innovation manager at Proto. So as you might expect, we sampled some of the local stuff, drinks that is. And at one point in the evening, David, who I've known for years, like when we first started with Immersive, with Vector 7.6, he turned around to me and said, I'm doing some work with a spin out from Newcastle Uni. Would you be interested in getting involved? They're doing some work with virtual reality and the treatment of kids and young people with autism and the various phobias that are obviously heightened due to their condition. I have a couple of grandkids who are on the spectrum, so I was very, very interested, obviously very interested from the VR side of things. So I said, yeah, definitely count me in whenever you need, a hand with this. Give me a shout back home and I'll get involved, which I subsequently did. So yeah, moving on again very swiftly. 2 years later, we have investment from Innovate UK, North Star, a couple of angel investors as well. And this April, things got very, very real. And as recently as just last week, things got very real indeed. We took a space in the Northern Design Centre. So as Terry will know, I'm now doing laps of these buildings. This is the second time I've moved a company into here. But what we started building last week with a company called Antisip was a big, huge 3-screen immersive studio. There's a bit of an issue with sticking headsets on a fairly large percentage of the youngsters with autism, in that they just don't like, 20% of them just don't like the feel of them and all that. So it's a little bit different for me. It's not sticking headsets on people most of the time. This is an immersive studio with the big screens. And what we do is essentially companies based on absolute solid research from Dr. Jeremy Parr over at Newcastle University and his team. So they've been working on treating youngsters this way for around about getting on for 10, 11 years. Published papers, all of that stuff. So it's not just this is not just crazy Sean with the headset he likes to stick on people and say, isn't this wonderful? This is VR meets health, and we're doing some real good work here. So we built this immersive studio last week. We will be treating our first patients, I think, in October in anger. The interesting thing is that what I was going to point out there, the combination is with the technology with pretty much established CBT. So it's that combination that's the interesting bit. The results, which have been proven, are really, really good. And that's what we're doing these days. I'll try and show you a little kind of mobile-based video of the space. God knows how this will come across over the net, but give you an idea. So it's kind of like a big, huge cinematic size room, where what we do is the different situations where, say, we refer to them as scenes. So you might have a scene where, or a piece of treatment where someone's got a dog phobia or an insect phobia, or even just a social awareness one where, they don't like getting off, they're not used to getting on public transport, or they're having to go through T5 down at Heathrow, things like that. We build all of these scenes. The clinicians treat the patients, and it's pretty much based on kind of like exposure therapy, where, in the case of a dog, let's say you'd have a little cute yappy poodle 20 yards away from you, and then by the end of your maybe 5th or 6th session of treatment, you'd be able to put up with quite a large Alsatian barking its head off within a couple of foot of you. So it's that type of thing. That's what we do, and I'll stop there. All right.
That's fabulous. Thanks for that, Sean. If you need a sign for that room that says immersive theatre, I think there's a room on the ground floor that still has it from 2012. Really? Well, because that was the original site for what was planned as the immersive theatre.
Yeah. Oh, I remember now, at the back in the corner.
Yeah, that really, really dark room with nothing in it. So, yeah. In all seriousness, it's great that it's finally happened. So that's brilliant. Thanks for that. I'd love to allow some questions, but we'll move on to Colin, and then we'll see how we're doing. So thanks again for that, Sean. Colin, can I bring you into the the room? There we go.
I'll see if I can share this. Hi, I'm Colin from Mad Digital. For you that don't know, the agency was formed around 21, 22 years ago. I started it up straight from leaving Newcastle University. Well, it was the poly, then it turned to the university. I basically did my internship or a year out with Procter & Gamble, where I worked in their marketing department. And it was great. I was there for the 12 months. They sent me around Europe for 9 months of that. So I was in lots of different countries, seeing lots of different cultures and understanding how markets, or the way you have to market a product, even through brand messaging and things, changes depending on which sort of region you're in or which country you're in. They sponsored my final year, and actually my dissertation was on how Windows 98, it shows you how long ago it was, how Windows 98 will change the marketing landscape is being used as a sales tool. So from that point, they sponsored that piece of work. They had to get concessions with the university that particular piece of work wouldn't be published for a couple of years, because they really saw it as a way of a competitive advantage at the time. So that really is what caught me really into that sector. I sort of moved away more from the marketing background and more into how the IT, or the use of that IT, can be used to change that type of marketplace, or could be used to help facilitate that need of growing demand of information and things coming through. I left university, and funny enough, I actually went to Design Works in Gateshead. It was the first, I didn't want to start the agency out of a bedroom or anything like that. And I went to Design Works, but it was full. It was one of those buildings that was full. I knew the business manager at the time, and literally we were walking along, and I literally said to the guy, "What's in that room? There's a door. What's in there?" And he literally opened it, and he was like, "It's a broom cupboard." And I was like, "I'll have it." So basically, that's where I started. I started in a broom cupboard. They basically emptied the broom cupboard. It was quite big. You could get quite a few people in there, but there was no windows, sort of no ventilation, such just a door and a space. And I took it. And I was in Design Works for quite a long time. I liked the place. There was more people that were our way thinking, forward people thinking. The internet was just starting, so it was a great time to sort of start the agency from that space. Very quickly, we discovered that we almost needed to, I don't know, have a way to help describe what we do. So we've always classed ourselves as sort of creating unforgettable digital experiences. So over that time, we've generated things for interactive DVDs, we've generated things for PCs, for laptops, for iPads, for phones, for headsets. So we haven't really focused on the delivery method. We've kind of focused on the experience that you gain from that. And then we've looked at what is the best delivery method or best way to enhance that experience. So that's always been our ethos, or always been our sort of challenge when we take on a project. One of our biggest project that we first cut our teeth on was for Pantene, and we developed with them what was known as the Pantene Sonic Cocoon. And the experience that people got from that there was we worked out that if you analyze sound running through a hair, you could then translate that to damage. So we could then tell consumers in store how damaged the hair was from root to tip. And then obviously their consultants could then encourage them to use the leave-on creams and the masks and everything else and really upsell their product. And built on that sort of success, that was kind of our first project we really cut our teeth on. From there, people were queuing to use the system, especially in sort of countries like China. We rolled it out to at least 45 different countries and had to manage that. So that's kind of how the agency started. I'd always had a background in 3D, and that's kind of how I met Sean and people like that along from the time. And we were always interested in how 3D can be used in that space and the progression of how 3D was moving on. We did a lot of fundamental work when AR first started up. That was back in the day when you actually needed a PC and a webcam. You couldn't run it on a phone. The iPhone hadn't even been invented. And we started to look at how augmented reality, even in that environment, could be used to enhance brands. So we did a lot of work with Gillette, we did a lot of work with Braun. We actually worked with Teesside University to devise we classed it as a magic shaver. So they actually helped us develop some new technology that we could put inside their existing shaver. So we could tell if you picked it up, we could turn it on, we could turn it off, and we could sort of get the full biometrics of how that shaver was being used. And we started to look at maybe how that could then be used in sort of their testing environment rather than it just being used in their marketing environment. And then it's, probably over the time, as you know, augmented reality sort of came, it reached a peak and then it died down a little. And then obviously with the advancements of the iPhone and the movement of that in headsets, it sort of came back up again. So we obviously came back into that field. So we came into it. We always kind of stayed in it, but as it died a little, some of the clients that we had, it tapered off, and now it's going back up. And so we moved sort of from out of there into town for a while. We were in the toffee factory for a while, which is where we met Octo, funny enough. And then we moved back to NDC and got involved with Pro Tool. And that for us was great because we were quite heavily in sort of the brand sector of it, how we can use AR and VR in that space in terms of product development and in terms of how you can show products to clients without them being there, and look at how scale can be done. We did work with customers who had problems with when they were dealing with big displays that they couldn't transport. How can we augment it in there? How can it be used to help sales? And so we moved from there, and as we had discussions with Pro Tool, we really wanted to bring in more of an engagement piece. So we felt that instead of, say, I don't know, let's say you have a greenhouse, instead of just being able to augment the greenhouse, wouldn't it be great to augment the greenhouse, but also have somebody working inside the greenhouse, or somebody watering the plants to show how that would work? So that you were starting to then almost sell that lifestyle through augmented reality rather than it just being a basic product. It's almost like the use of the product and things that go on top of it. So we extensively use kind of the kits here now at Pro Tool very, very heavily, to the fact that even if companies come along and want to scan, they normally come to us to see if we can help do the touch work or do the extra work that's needed on top. So we've been, heavily advising Chris, just the same as Sean, in terms of where it needs to go to next, how we need to keep on top of the market. But we've been doing a lot in that field. And I've just prepared a few little quick slides, just so you can kind of see some of the, if you haven't been to Pro Tool, which probably a lot of you have, of how we kind of used it in an odd project. So this first thing that we're going to talk about, we had a client who wanted to augment a timeline of their history, or a part of the company history, which dated right back to the Victorian era. And they wanted to do that in augmented reality. They didn't want to do it in sort of a video. They really wanted so you could project that on your desk and get that engagement or explore that world. So we worked with the People's Theatre to get costumes, because it's quite hard to get costumes of the Victorian era approved unless you really go down London and go to a whole set design. We almost needed to keep the budget a little bit tighter, so we worked with the People's Theatre, who quite happily let us effectively steal all their clothes. And then we had to find people to fit their clothes, because obviously that was the other challenge. They were just what we had. If we needed a tall person, we had to find a tall person. And again, you can even see Alex Cook here, everyone around Proto and NDC that we could grab, just all lend a hand. It's great being in this environment. You can just sort of grab somebody and say, can you just put on this outfit for me? And then we want to scan you. So that's kind of a piece of the process there. You can see people here getting made out in the photogrammetry suit. The full body photogrammetry suit is around about 125 cameras, all angled to capture every part of the body. And we use that to get an exact replication of costumes or outfits or even actual individuals. On this particular instance, we were just interested in the costumes. So here you can see Alex here actually taking a shot where these are some of the images that it takes. So the computer takes all these images, and then essentially we use some software to stick them together. We obviously didn't want to use this head, so our guys went away and the different model, different characters head that the client needed. And again, they were based off photographical archives. Obviously, you probably recognize Queen Victoria there, but the other two were really more client specific. And then the body was then placed, well, the head was then placed on the body. So this sort of image here is a sort of scaled down version of the actual grab. You can scan that little code, or you can go to our website and scan it with your phone later on, and you will see a web AR version of this character just waving at you. So you can kind of see where we started and where it came to. And again, all this technique was used at Proto. We also then had to animate the characters. So we used their mocap rig, so full facilities of their mocap rig. And the stages that we made, which you see here, actually matched one-to-one to the mocap stage inside Proto. So we did a lot of test work before we actually did the final grab with the client, and they give us full access to that. It was not charged to do all of our sort of R&D work, and it was great just being able to walk next door and saying, right, we need to do some more mocap tests for a day. Let's see where we come out, just so that we knew when we brought clients to that. It was run professionally. We weren't just learning on the day, but the beauty with it being there at Proto, we didn't have to pay for that learning, which was great. They just kind of give us full use of that, give us full use of Luke, and away we went. So unfortunately, I can't show you the outcome of that project because it's more of an internal piece, but it was a really good collection of how we used all the technology that was made available to us through Proto. I'll just quickly jump to something that we've been looking at with Alex, who does a lot of the Roman tours. And this is, again, another view from our 3D software where we took Alex in his Roman outfit, and we were really interested to see how metals reacted, sort of like how chainmail reacts, how body armor reacts, that type of thing. We were very interested in how that worked in the photogrammetry rig. And Alex was looking to do something in the augmented reality space to help his tours. And we spoke to Proto, and we all just give out a little bit of time. He came down with all of his stuff. We said we just give our time for free, Proto give them time for free. So we kind of give them some base models from this to help them get funded. And for us, it was great learnings on how this type of material, should we say, would work in the photogrammetry suite. So this kind of shows all the little photographs that get captured, and then what the computer makes is this 3D model, which kind of looked like this. If I have a little spin, and again, I hope it plays all right in Zoom. So this is like an unedited grab. This is what we get back before we do any tidy up work or things like that. But it did a really, really good job. We were really impressed with the level of detail that it sort of managed to grab, especially when, so things like chainmail is quite reflective and quite hard to do. So really, we're now moving on from that with discussions with Proto. We're looking to bring in more hand tracking, more facial tracking, so that we can really sort of finish those bits off. Because at the minute, we can grab the bodies of the characters, we can work on the characters, we can use the mocap to get the basic movement, but we're now looking down different funding routes to help bring in facial animation and hand animation, so sort of finishes off that complete loop. So that essentially we can, with characters, we should be able to do a full suite, very similar to like they do in the movies, but be able to do it up here in the Northeast. So that's me. That's hopefully short and sweet.
That's fabulous. Thanks for that, Colin. And anyone who's seen the stuff recently about ABBA and their re-emergence will have seen them with the ping pong balls all over them, which presumably is the same sort of stuff that you've just been talking about.
Yeah, and the head area that they wear, that's sort of their facial capture. So their system captures their full body movement, their hands, and captures their face. and that's then transferred to almost like their avatars, as it were.
Right.
And that's kind of our next missing bit. We've got the dots with Proto, but we need to do the face and hands.
Right, because I guess that's one of the issues with an emerging technology centre, that the technology just keeps on emerging.
Yeah, it just keeps changing in different ways of doing things.
That's great. Thanks for that, Colin. Thanks, Sean. For anyone who hasn't been to Proto and hasn't seen the facilities they've got there, I'm sure that could be arranged. So just drop me a line and introduce you to Alex or Rob or one of the other people there who organise that. But again, thanks. Jazz hands all around, Colin and Sean. Again, it's something I'd love to invite questions about, but it's getting perilously close to lunchtime, so we'll move on. But thanks for that. So a big thank you to all of our speakers, and hopefully we've tried to cover a lot of ground and maybe too much, but I thought no, let's just try it. Because there's there's an awful lot out there in terms of money, knowledge, facilities. And it's all here, and it's all on your doorstep, and it's all available. So if any of those things, if you need any of those things, and there's always something, then get in touch with the people who you've heard from today, or myself, and I'll introduce you to the right people. So a huge thank you for that. I will share. This will be on YouTube probably next week. I'll share the contact details of all the speakers if they're happy for that to happen. So don't feel that if you've missed anything, you've missed it for good. There's always ways to get connected. So I'd now very quickly like to introduce, I think there's just two people who are still here who want to just give us a little pitch and tell us a little bit about themselves. So Graham, I think you were the top of the list, and you're still on mute. So
unmute. First unmute, that's the thing to do. Right, okay, I'll just do this very quick. Hang on, what's it done? That's what I want. Share that. Yes.
Yeah, that's
cool.
cool.
Everybody can see that. Can you see that, Terry?
We can, yeah, that's fine.
Here we go then. Right, okay. So, hang on. No, sorry, pause.
Yeah, never mind pause. You want to get rid of that one.
I'm keeping that one on permanently, mate. No. Yeah, so good morning, everybody. Businesses don't exist in isolation, and it's crucial they have access to those things that they need to grow, and that's been the theme this morning. One of those things is obviously professional photography. So I was just going to take a brief opportunity to share how I can help your business. I've attended countless DNN events. However, this is out of my comfort zone, as you've probably already guessed, because rather than speaking in front of the camera, I've been at the back of the room with my face hidden behind it. I'm pleased to see some faces here I do recognise, but no others will not recognise me or know what I do. There are many reasons to hire a professional in any of our fields, and photography is no different. You might think, I've got a mobile phone which takes great pictures, they'll be good enough. But maybe they are, in some instances, for social media posts, for example, where you quickly capture a moment in time. However, the quality of images you choose for your profile image, which represents your brand identity, your products and services, along with the photographs you use for promotional and marketing material, can affect how others perceive you and your company. Photographs can have a direct influence on whether or not clients buy from your business, hire your service, or invest in you. Quality images are key, no matter how small or large the business is. Hiring a photographer can be perceived as a cost item. However, the results become a profit center because they create virtual assets, which you can then repurpose time and time again for marketing and promotional items. It's not just about the quality of the image, it's about the framing, the composition, the purpose, and the intent captured in every shot, which I can see as a professional, which you might miss through your phone screen. In truth, professional photography sells because the photographer solves the client's problems, which are there in each of the images. Every product-based business has challenges to making their products look amazing. Every service-based business has challenges in communicating what they do best. So the next step is to have a chat with me to see how we can professionally present what you do. I'll ask lots and lots of questions so we can delve deeper into the purpose of the image, the message, the mood, and the emotions you want to convey. And I'll work with you to find the best solutions to your unique visual challenges. Sound familiar? Because that is just the kind of process you go through with your clients to map out and identify exactly how you can help them and work together. So if businesses don't exist in isolation, it's crucial that they have access to those things that they need to grow and flourish. It's important to place as much emphasis on brand image as it is on business practice. That's why building a relationship with a professional photographer can bring more to your business than you ever imagined. There you go.
That's fabulous. Thanks, Graham. And I can certainly vouch for that. Joking aside, Graham's done a few team photographs for ourselves and also some of our sort of associates, and they're still using them. Ian Farrer uses his still. Simon Britton uses his. They must be 4, 5, 6 years old, but they're fantastic photographs and they're worth their weight in gold, I'm sure. And also a big thank you from me, Graham, for all the work you do at our events, making them look amazing and giving us a huge portfolio of stuff that we can use over and over again. In fact, I'm doing a presentation next week at Northumbrian Water, and I'm using some of the images that you've taken for us. So a huge thank you. And then if anyone, when you've seen some of Graham's work there, so do have a chat with them if it's of interest, and it really should be. So thanks, Graham. And then Steve Thompson. Steve, are you? Give us a wave so I can see. Is Steve still with us? He may not be. Right. Okay. Right. In that case, I'll just very, very quickly go over. Sorry. There we go. Great. I'll very, very quickly go over a couple of things just to finish off. We know all of this, don't we? That's what we're about, and that's why we do it. So we've got. We've had Horizon Design today. Hope you've all enjoyed it. It's been great to see you. Next month, the topic is designing death. This is one we came up with, myself and Claire, came up with on the back of I'm not going to say a fag packet, but in the space of 10 minutes. But we've got some really good speakers. So we've got someone who has developed eco coffins. We've got someone who's developed a process that basically dissolves you or me or whoever as a way of disposing of us in an eco-friendly manner, and we've got someone else who has got all sorts of processes around what you do with one's digital assets and social media assets and online assets when you depart this mortal coil, which is obviously a big thing and becoming more important all the time. But the one I really want to get, there's a company in Scarborough called And Vinily, and they will make a record using your ashes with your favorite songs on it, or a message from, what do they call it? Life Beyond the Groove. And so I'm desperately trying to get them along. So hopefully they will. November, we haven't decided yet. So let us know. The one for October came out of a conversation, a weird conversation, but a conversation. So do let us know if there's something you think we should cover. There's lots of stuff on the website about the upcoming events. There's a news page. There's lots of other things on there as well. So please do pay a visit to designnetworknorth.org. Our sponsors today have been Supply Chain Northeast, which is a program delivered by RTC North. I think they had the Supply Chain Village at MCon yesterday. So they do lots of things all around helping businesses to get into new supply chains, develop existing supply chains, do new things. They've got lots of support, lots of help, lots of workshops and things. So there's a QR code on there, but what I'll do is I'll send you a link to their website so you can see the events that we've got coming up. And also, Chris has mentioned Innovate UK. So they're the other sponsor of today's event. It's called Innovate UK Edge now. I should really get the new logo. I will do for next time. But as well as things like Pitchfest that Chris mentioned, you can get access to 30 or 40 innovation specialists across the north who've got extensive backgrounds in all sorts of different areas, and you can get some really good in-depth support and coaching and guidance from them, up to 3, 5, 7 days worth of fully funded support. But there's also things like they have a grant. When we talked about facilities, they currently have a grant for anyone that wants to work with one of the catapult centres, which I believe Proto and Software City is one. But there's manufacturing catapult centres, there's all sorts of organisations, and you can get a grant of up to 15k if you've got a project that you want some help with that they can deliver. They've also just launched what they're calling Design for Growth, which is coaching on on the importance of design and how to kind of embed design in your business. I think that's again a sort of a 3 to 5 day coaching program, but they're only open to Innovate UK clients. So if you're not one, then you need to become one. It's open to any, not just SMEs, like larger businesses up to about 500 employees in the north. So if any of that sounds interesting, drop me a line or I'll send out some more information next week. I mentioned this last time, we're doing a design challenge with the Tynemouth Volunteer Life Brigade. So they are a small charity who do a similar thing to the RNLI, but they don't have anything like the income that they have. And they've lost a lot of their income streams because of the pandemic. So what we're doing is linking them up with local creative people who can design and develop a product that they sell, but then some of that goes to the Life Brigade. So there's some knitwear designers, there's some people who do embroidery, there's some artists, there's some photographers, including Graham. Graham put in a brilliant pitch for something he wants to do. But it's, I mean, we had a closing date of August, but yeah, that was just really to kind of focus the mind. It's still open to anyone. So Martin, if you know any craft breweries who would like to create a new ale that takes something from the heritage of the Tynemouth Volunteer Life Brigade and give them a little percentage, they'd love to hear about it. So again, I'll send you some more information about that in early next week. The Northumbrian Water Innovation Festival is starting again next month. It's fantastic. If you haven't been before, you really need to go. It's not sadly at the racecourse this year. Hopefully it will be next year. But they do have some physical events, including one at Northern Design Centre, I believe. And I'm involved in a design sprint that's at the Mining Institute. They are looking for innovative, creative people to come along and contribute to those things. It doesn't have to be for the whole 5 days. You can come along for the day and just throw in some amazing ideas. It's brilliant. You'll meet some amazing people. So again, I'll send out some more information on that, but do get involved. The registration is open for that. So if you want to sign up for that, you can do that. You can do that now. And then something that's coming up the following week, it's York Design Week from the 20th to the 26th. They've got all sorts of stuff going on. I think the What a Pickle refers to the last 18 months. So a lot of it is around, you know, how we move forward from that. All sorts of events. So again, I'll send you links to their website. And then next week, next Friday, we have the meeting of the Northern Clothing and Textiles Network. They haven't met for over a year for the obvious reason. It's still going to be an online event, but we've got Shima Sike, who are one of the leading developers of knitting machines. And when I say knit machine, it's not that thing that used to go like that. You press a button and a whole garment comes out in one piece. It's just insane. You've never seen anything like it. So they'll be talking about that. And then we've got Sally from Recreation, who I think was on one of your images there, Graham. And she does these amazing clothes. I was going to say I've got some myself. Obviously, I haven't. But she's done this brilliant tie-up with the Shelby Corporation in the States. So she's going to be telling us a bit about that. But it's a great chance to meet some amazing people as well and do a bit of networking. And then finally, I'm just going to mention the Design Means Business conference is still there online. If you want to watch any of those presentations from the last 10 years or so, they're all there. You just sign up and then you can watch them at your leisure. So thank you all for staying with us. I hope you've learned something, been inspired by something. We'll take something away with you. I certainly will. As I said, any connections you want to make from today, if you don't manage to, drop me a line and I'll connect you with the right people. Chris is going to stick around. I mean, you're all obviously very welcome to stick around. I hate the bit where I press the button and everyone disappears, because it's not how it should be and it's not how it used to be. So, you know, don't feel like you've got to go. But if you do in particular want to have a chat with Chris, stick around. If you want to have a chat with Graham about the photography stuff, then stick around. Or if you just want to stick around, then stick around. But if you have to go, that's fine. And hopefully I'll see you again next month for Designing Death. I can't wait. Well, thank you all. It's been great.
Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, Terry. Sorry I was late.
That's
Thank you.
Right.
Exactly how long did it take to come up with that title, Designing Death, Terry?
Not long. Well, we had all the speakers within about, or identified within about 5 minutes. So yeah, that was a good one.
No hanging
Right, I'm
about when
fading.
death comes calling.
So your office is about to be turned back into a bar, Michelle, is that right?
Not till about 5 o'clock I'll get evacuated.
Is that opening time?
Yeah, apparently so. It was going to be a garden room, it was going to be this, going to be that, and it's been in planning for